Hello everybody, I just wanted to hop on and show you this really fun watercoloring technique I did for this background. As I promised some of you that I would share how I did that. So to create this background I used the new in color Misty Moonlight. And I paired it with one of our new stamp sets, Press On. This one's super cute. It's got little coffee cups and some cute little sayings, just related to coffee, of course. And I'm a huge coffee freak, so I love this stamp set. So anyway, let's get right into it, I guess. So what you need to create the background is a piece of our new Fluid 100 watercolor paper. This you can actually find in the annual catalog. It's available all year round. And I've already cut a piece of it. This measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, okay? And then what I'm going to use is our new water painters, and I'm going to take the widest brush. Now you'll see what I mean when I show you here. So this is our wide brush. Hopefully you can see that there. See how wide it is? Okay, and I filled it with water. And I'm just going to press some of the water into the bristles. And I'm going to brush over top of my paper just to get it a little bit damp. Okay, just like that. And then I'm going to take my Misty Moonlight ink pad and my re-inker, and I'm just going to put a drop in the lid. And then I'm going to take my water painter and just squeeze it and drop some water into the ink, just like that, so that you've got this really watered down color. Okay. And then I'm just going to go back and forth on my piece of Fluid 100, just like this. This wide bristled water painter makes it really easy to create this background. So there you go, just like that. And I can save my ink because I tend to use this a lot. So let me set that to the side here. I'll pull out my chamois, and this is what I use actually to clean my watercolor or water painting brushes. I just run it back a few times, smush it into my chamois, and then it comes clean. So it's white again and not blue. Okay. My lid on here. You do not have to empty the water out of this every time. You can leave it in there because then it's handy. Okay, and then just so that this dries a little bit faster, I'm going to pull out my heat emboss tool and just dry it a little bit. And because it curls like that, I find when you dry it on the front of the paper and on the back of the paper, it uncurls. So just going to do that here. Sorry, just another minute or so. Okay. So there we go, there's our little background. And then what I added to the background to create this card, I don't know if you can see it in this picture, there's kind of like a vellum type cutout in the background. So these are actually in the annual catalog. They are called the, what are they, square vellum doilies. So they're already pre-cut for you. Which is kind of nice, because then if you don't have a cut and emboss machine yet, we do have one that's coming out September 1st, so stay tuned. But if you don't have one yet and you really want these pretty little doilies, you can just buy them pre-cut, so it's really handy. And I'm just going to glue this onto kind of the top half of my background, and I'm going to use the Mono Multi Glue, and I'm just going to put, you don't have to put glue on the whole thing, but just a dot here or there, just like this, just so that there's enough on there for it to stick. Okay, good enough. Because this stuff is super sticky, so it will not come off. And the nice thing is it dries pretty clear, so then you won't even see it. There you go. Okay, oops. Alright, so the next step I'm going to do actually is I'm going to stamp my images, and we'll let this dry a little bit more. And you know what, I'm going to show you my coloring technique as well here. So, if you have Stampin' blends and you haven't found a good way to store them, this is actually a lipstick case off Amazon, and I highly suggest getting one because look at how nicely organized it keeps all my stamps. So I'm going to grab my crumb cake and my new In Color blends, Just Jade. Those are the only ones I need. And I'm going to need my Memento ink pad, and I'm going to take this coffee cup. And I'm just going to stamp, oh, there's some ink there. Stamp my image on here, just like that. And clean my stamp with the chamois. And I'm also going to stamp a little Misty Moonlight heart. This heart is also from this stamp set, so it's super fun. Just like that, clean it off on my chamois. Put my ink pad away again. Alright, so to color. So every time I color with my blends, people comment that it looks like I've watercolored, and in fact I have not watercolored. I've actually used the blend, so I'll just kind of teach you my technique. So what I like to do is I like to pick one side of my image and make that my dark side. So I'm going to make kind of like this strip is going to be my dark crumb cake. Okay. And then I'm going to take my my light crumb cake, and I'm just going to go over top and blend in the line and then keep going. Just like this. And I'll blend it in a little bit more. There you go. I'll go over my light a little bit to make kind of like a medium colored. So there you go, you got that gradient then now from dark crumb cake to light crumb cake. And I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. So I'm going to go over top of the dark, blend the two together, and then go all the way to the end. And then go back over the middle a little bit. Just like so. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this little label. So I'm going to go dark, kind of to like the same line as the crumb cake. Then I'm going to go over top of it and then blend this line with the two and then color the rest in light. Now what I like about blends is when they dry, you actually don't see any of your marker lines, whereas like a traditional marker, you might see all the lines where you're coloring. I'm just going to go back over and make a medium color. See how it dries and you can't even really tell? Okay, just like that, and that's how you get that gradient, so it kind of looks like a watercolor. Now unfortunately this stamp set does not come with dies, so we're going to have to fussy cut it out, which is fine. So I'm going to fussy cut out my Misty Moonlight little heart. Just like this. Sorry, I tend to go quiet when I'm cutting because I'm really focusing. And then I'm going to fussy cut out this one as well. Luckily with these shapes in this set, they are very square. So fussy cutting is pretty simple. There isn't too much fancy work to do. And it doesn't have to be perfect because nobody cares how it was cut out. There, just like that. And I'm going to put my little blue heart in the middle. I am going to use a little mini dimensional. Just like that. Put my heart here. Perfect. How cute is that? I love this stamp set actually. One of my new faves. Oops, through marker. Okay, so now I'm going to work on assembling this a little bit. So I've got a standard white, Whisper White card base. This one measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches and it's scored at 5 1/2. So I'm just going to fold it in half and take my bone folder and burnish the edge. And then I'm going to take some of my tear and tape adhesive and I'm going to put it on the back of my Fluid 100 watercolor paper. And the reason why I use tear and tape is I find it super sticky, so it's going to hold down all the edges that want to curl. So I put my tear and tape around the edges, and then I like to get extra sticky and I take my snail and put it in the middle, just like this. Now I'm just going to peel off all my backing of my tape here. Bear with me. So I hope you guys are loving this technique. Ooh. So I'm just going to make this the front. Okay, so I'm going to put this down here. See, so even though my paper was a little bit curled because I used that tear and tape, it's kind of held it down really good. Now I've already pre-cut a circle from our stitched framelit dies. And so I just took, I think this is the second smallest one, and I'm just going to adhere some mini dimensionals to the back and stick this on the bottom right. Right about here, I think will work. And then I'm going to put my coffee cup right about here. So I'm going to put a dimensional in this corner. And then I'm going to put some snail on this side of it so that it sticks to my circle. Right about there, I think. That looks good. Okay. Now next I'm just going to pull in the card that I made. So we need our little sentiment here. So I used our heat emboss tool with some Versamark and embossing powder to create this. So I'll kind of show you how I did that. So I'm just going to bring in a piece of black cardstock. Now I have, this is unfortunately now retired, but it's called an Embossing Buddy, and it's a little pillow kind of filled with some flour, powdery, baby powder type stuff. And I've got my sentiment on my block already, and I'm going to bring in my Versamark. And what the powder does is it makes this cardstock not so sticky. So I'm just going to get lots of Versamark on my stamp there. And press down right about here. And then I'm going to take my white embossing powder. Just going to sprinkle this on top. See if I can get most of it back in. Just like so. And then I'm going to get out that heat tool again, so bear with me. I like to go from underneath, so I'm just going to heat this up and set the powder. I think that this will take a little bit longer. Than when I dried the background. Just about done here. There we go. Perfect. So there's our little saying. Now I'm just going to, this is why I like using grid paper when I'm using embossing powder, because now I can just take my grid paper, fold it in half, and dump my extra powder in so that I don't waste any. Perfect. And the way I got my little square cutout is I took my handy little paper trimmer here and I stuck it. This is about 3/4 of an inch here. Sorry if you can hear that noise in the background. So my kitty has decided he needs to play with one of his toys during a video. I'm just going to trim this. Try and make it even on both sides. Perfect. Actually, you know what? I might want it closer to the lettering. So I'm just going to trim both sides off here. There we go. Oh, he's found a different toy to play with. I apologize. So there's my little saying. Now where did I, oh, here's my card. Sorry. And I want this to kind of sit so it looks like it's coming from the coffee cup out to the end here, just like so. So I'm going to put a couple dimensionals on the end. Get my mini dimensionals again. Put 2 on this side, and again I'll just do a little bit of snail on that side. There we go. Slide that in where I want it. And perfect. Okay. Now just a couple of finishing touches. So this thread is actually from our Playful Pets suite. It's this really pretty black and white thread. It's kind of like a twist color. I really like it. So I'm just going to make a little bow. Trim that like so, and I'll save this because I'll use that for another bow. And I'm going to take one of my glue dots. These glue dots come in handy for when you're putting on bows on your cards. And I'm just going to put it right in the center of my bow. And put that right about here. Just like so. And then I'm going to use some of our new in color enamel dots. I'm going to use the Misty Moonlight to match the background. This is a brand new pack actually because I ran out of my other ones. And I'm just going to take some of these little, oh, that one wrecked. Some of these little enamel dots here. I'll put one here. Shoot, hey. Another one right here. Having better luck with my fingernails than I am with the scissors. And one right there. Perfect. There we go. So there, all done. Super easy. Background, super cool. I highly recommend, if you haven't gotten these water painters, that you pick some up because they are super fun to play with. They come in different sizes, so I'll just kind of show you. So you've got your wide, which we used on this card. And then we've got kind of like a medium tip. This is kind of like our old aqua painters that we used to have. This one's very similar to them anyway. And then we've got a super fine tip so that if you've got some really fine coloring, watercoloring you've got to do, this will come in handy. Anyway, that's what I highly recommend getting a set of these. And if you don't have a cut and emboss machine, get these vellum doilies. They are so pretty and they add just like a little extra, don't you think? Anyway, I hope you guys like my video and you have a great night. Make sure you hit subscribe on my blog so that every time I post a new project, you'll get a notification of it. Make sure you also head over to my website if you're interested in getting these watercolor painters. There's the link directly from my blog. It's Stampin' with Lindsay L at blogspot.com. Thanks so much and have a great night, everybody.